If you want a piece of land that grows food that you can leave for weeks or even months at a time and come back to find it's not only still alive but actively growing more food each year, it comes down to 3 simple strategies. This young food forest guild is only 4 months old, and as you can see, it's already producing different kinds of perennial vegetables, root crops and herbs, while the fruit trees are slowly establishing. And in this video I will share those 3 key strategies with you to create a food forest that basically runs itself, so that once it's in the ground, all it needs from you is a little seasonal upkeep, and it keeps growing more food season after season. Now, if you've ever grown vegetables before, you know the drill. There's always some weeding to do, watering the plants, feeding the soil, basically on repeat every single week. A food forest asks for some of that too, especially early on, but set it up right from the start and it barely asks for anything at all. And the first strategy to make this work is how you handle weeding. If you've been following this channel for a while, you might remember that we used to run a no-dig market garden in France. And the whole idea behind no-dig is simple. You use a thick layer of compost as mulch, and that compost does 2 jobs at once. It feeds the soil and at the same time it smothers out what's already growing underneath it. Optionally, we use a layer of cardboard on the bottom and compost on top of that. And just like that, weeding dropped to almost nothing. Now, when we're starting a new food forest, we're using the exact same idea, except instead of compost, we're using this wood chip mulch. It has the same effect, but it's a different material. And here's the thing. Chances are, whatever patch of land you're starting your food forest on, it's likely that something is already growing there. Weeds, grass, whatever it is. So if we want to avoid fighting that later, we need to deal with it before we plant, not after. And there's really 2 ways to go about this. You can strip off the existing vegetation first, then follow with optionally cardboard and a thick layer of mulch. Or if you're short on time, you can skip the stripping entirely and sheet mulch straight on top of it with cardboard first and mulch on top of that. Either way gets you the same result. The vegetation underneath it gets smothered out and the mulch takes over. But mulch is only half the equation. The second part to minimize the weeding is how densely you plant. Take this guild right here. As you can see, it is quite packed. We planted trees, shrubs, ground covers, herbs, all pretty close together with barely a gap left uncovered. And that's intentional because bare ground doesn't stay bare for long. Mother Nature fills it in with something, and left alone, that something is usually a weed. So between the mulch smothering what's already there and the plants themselves closing every gap before anything else can move in, weeding stops becoming a weekly chore and turns into something that you can check on once in a while. In fact, this food forest guild is only 4 months old, and I've literally only done like 1 light weeding session during that time. That's what this combination of soil prep, mulching and dense planting gets you. And by the way, if you want to turn your land into a food forest that takes care of itself like this without you having to babysit it every week, I'm putting together a workshop that walks you through exactly how, guild by guild. If you want in, make sure to join the waitlist below. Now, the second strategy to make this work is how you handle watering. I've only watered this food forest guild 3 times. Once at planting day and twice after that in the first 2 weeks. That's it. And just like with the weeding, the mulch and the dense planting that we just went through are already doing a big part of this job. The mulch holds moisture in the soil instead of letting it evaporate straight into the air. And as the plants fill in and the canopy starts to close, the shade keeps the ground cooler and slows evaporation even further. Now, you might be thinking, doesn't planting this densely mean that the plants are just going to compete with each other for water? And that's a fair question, but in a food forest, you are mixing deep-rooted trees with shallow-rooted herbs and ground covers. So they're not all pulling from the same layer of soil at the same time. And what you lose in a bit of competition, you more than make up for it in the amount of water that stays in the ground instead of evaporating out of it. But watering and the strategies you use also depend heavily on your climate. A couple of years ago, my wife and I decided to leave our farm in France and moved to Portugal to build an off-grid permaculture-inspired homestead. And one of the first things that we did was dig large swales and plant a diverse food forest on the land. But France was temperate. We had rain, mild summers, and never really had to think much about watering. Portugal was a completely different story. A semi-arid climate where every drop of rain actually counts. So on top of the mulch and the dense planting, there's a third piece to this equation that makes a big difference for us, and that's planting at the right time. When we first arrived on our land back then, we planted over 2 different periods. Some trees went in during fall and some in spring, and the difference was incredible. The ones that we planted going into fall right as summer ended, nearly all survived. The ones that we planted in spring, even with extra hand watering and with a drip system running, a lot of them struggled to settle in and a good number of them died. And this is because when planting in fall, it gives the roots a half a year to settle in before they have to deal with the heat of the summer. A plant that's already established going into summer can handle those conditions much better than a plant that hasn't spread out its roots yet. So if you're in a more arid climate, timing like this can really make or break it, and you can increase the odds of success, especially if you combine it with the mulch, the dense planting, and if you want it really hands-off, a simple automated drip system. If you're somewhere with more consistent rain, you've got more room to work with, but planting before winter is often still the best move. The third strategy to create a food forest that basically runs itself is how you handle feeding the soil. And this one actually starts on planting day. When you're putting the main fruit trees and the shrubs in the ground, you can amend the planting hole. And I've done a whole video on that process here on the channel if you want to go deeper, so I won't get too much into it here, but it's optional and it's mainly worth doing if your soil's on the poor side. It gives your trees, your long-term species, a good head start. Plus that same thick layer of wood chip mulch that we used for weeding and watering, over time this will start to break down and starts feeding the soil as well. But the real system for feeding the soil comes from what you plant around those trees, which are the support species. The first types are nitrogen fixing plants. I always include a few of these in the food forest. Left alone, most of the species that I use can grow very tall, and they're doing a lot of work at once. They create shade, they create a microclimate, but also pull nitrogen out of the air and put out a ton of organic matter that we can use for chop and drop. The second type are plants like this comfrey here. These are often called nutrient accumulators, meaning they send roots deep in the soil, pull up nutrients most other plants can't reach, and store them in their leaves. And when we prune it and drop the cuttings right here on the ground, we are cycling all of that back into the system fast, so we get this constant nutrient cycling and a nice buildup of humus. Meanwhile, the nitrogen fixers are doing their own version of the same thing by pulling nitrogen straight out of the air and fixing it into the soil through their roots. So between the two, you've got the deep mined nutrients coming up and the nitrogen's coming down. The system is feeding itself from both directions. And on top of that, all those cuttings that we are dropping are doing double duty as mulch. So the same chop and drop that's feeding the soil is also helping keeping it covered. And this kind of work, I only personally do it like once or twice a year. That's it. As Jeff Lawton puts it, you chop and drop when precipitation exceeds evaporation. Or in plain terms, the cooler, rainy part of the year when there is more rain than the hot, sunny summer days when we actually want the shade and protection. So even if you've only got like a weekend here and there or even less, this is still something that you can keep on top of. It really doesn't take a lot of time to do this. Amend that planting, plant your nitrogen fixers and accumulators, and chop and drop once or twice a year when the seasons are right. And that's it. No imported compost, no constant feeding. The system builds its own fertility. And if you combine these 3 strategies from day one, you can turn your land into a food forest that basically runs itself, one doable section at a time. And that might honestly be one of the most important strategies of all, going one guild at a time. It gives you a solid starting point. It removes the guesswork and it lets you learn what actually works on your specific land before you commit to the next section. Then you take everything that you've learned and build the next one and the next. And if the thing that's holding you back from starting is not knowing exactly like how to put all of this together on your own land, that is exactly what we walk through step by step in the upcoming workshop. You can sign up for the waitlist below if you want to go deeper. And if you want to see exactly how this guild came together, make sure to watch this video next, because in that video I walk you through the entire process from prepping the ground to how it looks after only 4 months. And as always, thank you so much for watching and happy forest gardening.